What would your step as a parent be? Say you feel that your child is exhibiting these signs or these behaviors that indicate they might be stressed or anxious. What should you say to them? How should you approach it?
Yeah. Well, a couple things we don't want to do, and this is true in most of our parenting, right, is we don't want to be too soft and we don't want to be too hard. So the trick is, where do we find that Goldilocks happy medium? But one of the dangers, especially when we see our children in a lot of emotional pain, anxiousness, insecurity, even then of physical symptoms, again, that may boil over, we want to reassure them everything's going to be okay and really kind of take care of them and maybe even do something for them. And that's really on the too soft end of things. That really is problematic if we're overly reassuring our children when they're facing their anxiety, because it's really it's feeding the fear monster, we call it. It's really reinforcing that anxious avoidant behavior, and it can actually over time escalate it, even if in the moment it helps them feel better. So we don't want to do that, and we don't want to be impatient and just tell the kid, oh, knock it off, suck it up, you know. So somewhere in between, what we want to do, and what I universally call reflect and redirect, is we want to reflect the child's feelings back to them, acknowledge empathically, respectfully, that they are feeling what they're feeling right now. Whether we think they should be stressed about this or nervous about this or not, whether we think, don't be silly, you're smart, you'll do fine, or you're lovely, you'll fit in just fine, that's again too dismissive. We want to be able to reflect the feeling and say, I understand you're feeling really nervous about this right now. I understand you're feeling not so sure about whether you can do this. And then redirect them to possible alternative choices about how they want to face that, and offer suggestions, or more importantly, again, we don't want to solve the problems for them. That actually teaches them to be helpless and remain an anxious victim. We want to support them in problem solving. What are options for them? How do they want to face this? And so this universal idea of reflect the feelings and redirect them to behavior choices or options is kind of my core base. And then there's kind of 5 branches that spread out from that, if I may.
Absolutely.
So beyond the specifics then of reflect and redirect, we want to do these 5 steps to help our kids cope with their stress and anxiety. And the 5 R's are: recognize. First of all, help our children recognize what's happening to them in the moment. And this is where mindfulness practice really comes in, and you see and hear a lot about that right now. And we use a lot of mindfulness-based treatments and support for kids and parents in our clinical practice. It's really important to, again, get the kids out of their heads of worrying about the future or past and come into the present moment, and to be able to recognize what's going on in the present moment without judgment or that self-criticalness. So we look for present moment awareness and acceptance, and help kids recognize what's going on right now. And more specifically, we help them recognize their bodily sensations and help them recognize their thoughts that are going and playing right now. And as we do that, if they're really jacked up and too nervous to be able to calmly rethink the situation, we want to go from recognizing what's going on to relaxing. So we want to relax and literally
take a breath.
Just take that deep breath. Like I was getting too wound up in talking to you right now. And literally just repeatedly, let's take 3 belly breaths, slow deep breaths, just literally start to calm our nervous system down, which really, really has a strong physiological as well as psychological effect. And there are other things we do, muscle relaxation exercises. And so we first need to literally relax and reset the nervous system. After we recognize what's going on in the moment and relax ourselves enough, now we're ready to refocus. Relax and refocus. So we want to refocus on more realistic thinking, not our distortions of catastrophizing. It's going to be terrible, it's going to be terrible, which anxious individuals and kids overestimate how terrible it's going to be. So we can now, after we relax, refocus on more realistic thinking and ask ourselves, is that really true? What evidence do we have? With kids, we sometimes call it detective thinking and have them look at what the evidence for what the probability of this really being a problem is. Or even if it goes negative, so what? My favorite question is, so what? So what? So what? And kind of work on, it's going to be okay. But not just pacify the kid, it's going to be okay. Help them really, after they relax, refocus and think through it more realistically. And that gets us to the 4th R of respond, and choose our response. Hey, we noticed we're wound up. We noticed we have these crazy thoughts racing through our minds. Now we can choose how we want to respond to that in a more calm, planful way. And the only way we're going to get past our anxiety, or the only way around it, is through it. So we need to be able to face the fear, and in a graduated way, we help kids learn how to respond to and step into those things they're fearful of, and realize that once they do that, it's usually not nearly as bad as they were afraid of. That's what will reduce the anxiety, not avoiding it, but accepting it and committing to walk through it, respond to it in a different way. And finally, our fifth R can be rewarding the children with praise for their effort, attention for their good efforts, and extra incentives if it really helps them kind of step up to the plate and get through a particular kind of nervous situation. If that helps them get over the hump, we want to strategically think about how to use rewards and positive reinforcement to encourage our children to keep facing their fears.
What role do parents play in the way their kids respond to stress? I mean, is this something where you should be leading by example? If you have a lot of stress or anxiety in your life, are you going to pass that on?
Absolutely. And we don't want to say, of course, that the parent causes the stress. The stress is usually caused by, as all things are, our genetic predisposition. We're all wired differently to be more or less sensitive or more or less reactive. So depending on that wiring, though, then the environmental interactions going on around obviously are going to influence it to get worse or better. So absolutely, as parents, we don't own all the problems, we don't all own all the solutions, but we have an important part to play, and that starts with self-care and self-regulation, absolutely. So clearly, the more that we can recognize our stressors, relax and refocus ourselves in a constructive way, respond by stepping into those challenging situations, and really reward and celebrate that positive way of responding to the stress that's a natural part of life, the more calmly and consistently we can do that, clearly our children will benefit from that.